For the first time, the CIA has been found guilty of torture as the European Court of Human Rights has ruled a terror suspect was wrongly detained by U.S. agents. A German citizen of Lebanese origin, Khaled al-Masri, was beaten and sodomized after he was seized on alleged links to al-Qaeda. And for more analysis on this, I'm joined live by author and historian Doug Valentine. So al-Masri's story started nearly a decade ago when he was taken off the street in 2003 and held secretly. Why do you think it took so long for the court to rule on this? Do you hear me, Doug Valentine?
Yes, I do. And the background of the case is pretty interesting. He was kidnapped in Macedonia, and with the by the CIA with the collusion of the Macedonian security services, and taken to Afghanistan, where he was held for 4 months. When the CIA found out that he was not the person that they thought he was and that he was not involved with terrorism at all, they brought him back to Europe. I believe they dropped him off in Albania, and he eventually made his way back to Germany, and he began a process of trying to gain some justice in this matter. And it took him, of course, 8 years before his case was heard at the European Court, which has a tremendous backlog. But they did manage to hear it, and as you note, his case was found to be based on solid evidence that he was in fact kidnapped, illegally detained, and tortured by the CIA.
So this case has already been called a key milestone, as for the first time a European court has declared CIA treatment of captives as torture. Do you think this could spur a change in U.S. policy?
Oh, absolutely not. The European court has no authority over the United States, and certainly not Congress, the U.S. Congress or the CIA. As we know, 26 CIA officers were convicted of kidnapping another individual in Italy in 2004. And that case, although all the CIA officers were convicted in absentia, none of them, of course, were sent to Italy to serve their sentences. They're all safely ensconced in the United States, and they never will serve a day in prison. No CIA officer ever will ever serve a prison term, even in the United States, if convicted of a crime. These people are simply above the law. In fact, the only thing that the CIA does is to conduct illegal activities, which is why it's above the law. Its business is doing things that are illegal. So the fact that it's found guilty in Europe or Asia or South America or any place of doing illegal things is simply a confirmation of what it does.
Now, the UN Special Rapporteur on Counterterrorism said the U.S. government should issue an apology for its role in human rights violations by the Bush-era Central Intelligence Agency. How do you think Washington, especially under the Obama administration, may respond?
Well, they'll just ignore it, and privately they'll laugh about it. They don't mind. The CIA is not a rogue elephant that does things without prior authorization from Congress and the president and his national security officers. Everything that it does is policy, is the United States policy. So although, albeit it's secret policy, it's unstated policy, it's what it does, tries to do behind the scenes. So of course the United States would never apologize for it. What the one thing that this case highlights, as does the case in Italy a couple of years ago, is that for the first 50 years of its existence until 2001 and 9/11, the CIA really tried to keep its illegal activities covered under a veil of secrecy. After 9/11, through a kind of a popular demand by the American citizenry, which really wanted to know that the CIA was fighting fire with fire, was fighting terrorism with terrorism. These things were actually the revelations that the CIA was involved in torture was viewed favorably.
Unfortunately, we have to end it there. We're run out of time. Doug Valentine, thanks for your time.
Okay.